When you're leaving a job and going to another job for perceivably greener pastures, oftentimes you put money into a 401k, and now that you've switched jobs, you have money somewhere. And what do you do with it? So today on the Financial Edition, we're going to talk about how to handle a forgotten, now remembered 401k. But to do that, I'm going to find a couch and maybe a snuggly blanket. Okay, now that I am comfortably seated at my couch with my nice warm fuzzy blanket, I am ready to continue. So my friend, she and I were chatting, we were messaging about this show actually, and I was talking about finances, and we were talking about 401ks and how she had switched jobs and how I had switched jobs and how we both had to move a 401k. And in reference to something else, we were talking about her first 100k. That's a really, really popular female finance guru that's out there these days. And in response, my friend said, what I'm really looking for is her first 401k that she successfully rolled over to another employer. Great job, sweetie. And I was like, yep, you did that. And it was not simple. Like, we both had to do that, right? And she was like, I ... have yet to. And then she posted like that monkey, she's like, ah, right? It's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, in the sweetest way possible, I wrote, honey, open that account and start a transfer request. Get that bag. Yeah, it's so frustrating because, I want her to be successful, obviously. And what she said to me was, honestly, with this kind of thing, it always comes to needing someone to sit down and hold my hand. She was talking to me about how when she's packing, it stresses her out, and so she needs someone to be there so that she's not alone doing it. And I think it's completely relatable when we're talking about such traumatic things, such as leaving a job, because usually when you leave a job, you're leaving it for something that is better, but you're definitely leaving a job usually to leave something that you think is potentially worse. And so in this situation, I knew she was leaving a situation that wasn't particularly good, but I didn't realize that it was this bad. And so I think that there's a lot of space in the financial industry to talk about how we need to be more empathetic for what people are going through. So my friend, she was in a place where she left this company. She's been working for a new company, and she's been working for that new company for 2.5 years. Now, that's kind of rough because I know that she is a tech worker, so she's probably making, I hope, maybe like $75,000 a year. Maybe that's on the high side. It could be like $60,000. I don't really know. But my guess is that in 2.5 years, she would have probably had roughly $15,000 set aside in a Roth, well, not in a Roth necessarily, but in like a 401k. She would have had $15,000 set aside in a 401k, and about $7,000 of that would have been from her employer. And I know this because her employer runs a 3% match, and then they run a 50% match for the next 2%. So what that means is she contributes 5% of her pre-tax earnings, which means it comes out of her paycheck before she even pays taxes, which is a win. And then she gets 4% more added on, 4% of free money added on to her 401k. So this is money that should be there. And $15,000 doesn't sound like a lot until you realize that with 30 years of compound interest, it would be worth like a couple $100,000 at a 10% rate return. And so I have told her that I'm going to hold her accountable and make sure that she goes through the process of doing a 401k rollover. Now, the reason for doing a 401k rollover is so that you maintain control over those funds, and it's easier to manage because it goes to your new employer's 401k. And the steps of this are not difficult in theory. But in practice, it really depends what kind of access you have. So if you have access to your old 401k online, if you have an online option entirely, make sure that you get access to your 401k online. That's a big one. If you get access to your 401k online, then if you should ever leave that company, you can request a 401k transfer from that website, and you never have to talk to anyone from your old company ever again, because you can go through the benefits company. And usually what that entails is you go into your 401k online and you say, I would like to make a 401k transfer, or it's, I would like to make a withdrawal. Okay, what kind of withdrawal? A rollover withdrawal. And then there's a couple of routes that come from this. Before you initiate a rollover, you will want to have a 401k that you're transferring it to. So step 2 of this is to make sure that you, before step 1, I know, kind of crazy. So really your first step, you've already done. You already have a 401k from your previous employer. Your second step is that you are fully employed at another employer and you already have a 401k that you've signed up for and you are soon to start contributing money. Once you have that second 401k set up, you can go back to your original 401k that you have access to online. You say, I'd like to make a transfer, I'd like to make a withdrawal, whatever way they verbalize it, you can withdraw the whole amount as a transfer. And they will do one of two things at that point. They will either send you a check directly with your name on it, which you would then cash and then deposit into your 401k. That's a lot less common. What's a lot more common is they'll say, tell us who to put on the check. And you're going to be able to get that from your destination 401k. Because on that side, your step 3 is to tell your receiving 401k, hey, I would like to do a 401k transfer. And they will supply you with the name that you were to have put on the check. And then you go back to, and for the part of that step 4, you go back to your original 401k and you say, hey, here's the name for the check. And then they mail you the check. Step 5 is where you receive that check and you ship it to your new 401k company, and then they receive that check. So 5 steps where your first step is basically done for you because you already have online access to your 401k. Your second step implies that you have set up your 401k at your new location. Your third step is to initiate, and your fourth step is to receive that, and your fifth step is to send it on to your new 401k. Now, if you don't have online access to your old 401k, you will likely need to contact your support. Usually they call them a benefits agent. If you know the company that your old 401k was held with, you'll be able to register for an account or call up somebody from their customer service and get access to that account. If you don't know who services your 401k, then you're going to have to go and talk to somebody from your old employer. Now, that's obviously the last scenario that you want to do if you left a traumatic situation, but that is the way you would end up going. Is you could contact the benefits person in HR or call HR and say, hey, my name is, I used to work here, now I'm working somewhere else, and I need to do a 401k transfer. Tell me who should I talk to about that. And they would tell you about their benefits person. The benefits person will put you in contact with the company that services their 401k. So my friend's biggest concern about this, what she told me, was that she was concerned that she'd have to talk to her old boss to get this information. And I told her that she wouldn't need to talk to her old boss. She would need to sign up for an account, or she would need to talk to somebody from the company that she was with. From this standpoint, it really just depends whether or not she has access to the website or not, or she can register. So that's kind of a lowdown on the different steps that it takes in order to do a 401k transfer. If you personally are running into an issue, I highly recommend that you ask me about it. You can talk to me by sending me an email at askthefinancialedition@gmail.com. send me an email with your situation and I'll make a video about it. And if I don't make a video about it, I will at least send you an email back. So that's kind of a big one because I also recently left a company. It was not nearly as traumatic. I definitely very much enjoyed working for my last employer. But I definitely understand that for a lot of people, finances is a tricky issue, and doing finances shouldn't be tricky, but it often is. So let's normalize talking about finances, and I would love to talk to you. So I see myself as a financial coach, and being a financial coach has a very low bar to entry. I'm just addicted to personal finance, so I'm never going to give you any type of investing advice, and it's all for education and entertainment purposes only, of course. But the thing is, like, you could benefit from recognizing that if you have an old 401k, then you should definitely be looking to have control over that money and make sure that you're invested. So anyway, have a great rest of your day and good night.